Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee, coming to you from 2600 Airline Highway at the PJ's location here. Beautiful place to stop by, get a drink. Make sure you check them out. And we are coming to you from the mobile Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio. If you have any health needs, make sure you check them out. And if you're in the market for a new car, Matt Bowers is your guy. Make sure you buy your next car from Matt. He'll get you the best prices. We got a really good show for you guys today. We're going to kick it off talking about Alvin Kamara, who was just the top-ranked player on our top 10 or top 21 Saints list. Going to be a huge asset for the team this season. He's going to need to be if they're going to have success. This first topic is presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. What do you think the ideal role is for Alvin this year? And I guess, we'll define it through touches, yards, and then kind of push it forward into what's best for him and for the team in terms of how that usage fits. But that usage puzzle, do you want to see it look like it did last year? Or are you looking
there are two different answers. What's best for him and what's best for the team. And look, this isn't exclusive to Alvin Kamara. It's true of all running backs. Kamara's best seasons have come when they didn't have to run him into the ground. And now look, to be fair, it's when him and Mark Ingram were boom and zoom, Ingram got a lot of the carries where it was goal line or 3rd and 1. And when it's 3rd and 1 and you just need 2 yards, your yards per carry is going to go down. Alvin got the fun touches, He had 120 touches in a season and he averaged 8 yards a touch.
6.1 per carry, I think.
It was incredible. So part of it is it doesn't mean usage means your numbers go down. It means when you're used on every down, that means you're doing a lot of 1-yard carries. You're doing a lot of I'm running up the middle into a 9-man front. Best thing for Alvin Kamara is he would never have to do that. Every time he touched the ball, it was in space. That would be great. But we've seen it really ever since that era, ever since maybe Latavius Murray's first year here, where Alvin has had to do it all. Disappointingly so last year. He was the entire offense last year, for better and for worse. I remember Dennis Allen's first year where they were just running their heads into a brick wall. It was the biggest waste of Alvin Kamara I've ever seen. It was hand him the ball, tackled, hand him the ball, tackled, because they couldn't do anything. So that's disappointing. You'd love it if another guy could emerge. I think when they tried to sign Jamal Williams, obviously anytime Taysom Hill is healthy and they can play off each other. But if you're saying best thing for the team, we have not seen a running back since 2017 Mark Ingram that comes anywhere close to him. So I think you give him as many touches as he can physically handle, because special things happen when he gets the ball. And even though they tried drafting Kendry Miller and they tried signing Jamal Williams, we haven't seen anyone that it's not a waste of, so you always have to balance that. He almost made it through a full season last year until he got hurt in mid-December. I don't necessarily worry about that with him, but you want to limit touches a little bit. Sean Payton used to say 12 to 18 touches is his ideal amount. He liked getting more bang for the buck out of him. But if you're a team trying to win a game, I think it's going to be just like last year. He's the only guy you can count on, at least in the run game.
A little bit, though. I think though, the best thing for the team would be having him good for 2 years instead of just one.
I know, of course. Of course.
I don't know that this season's worth giving him 235 carries.
That's fair. The goal of this season brings another element into
I think that you can dial off it a little bit. I think the best thing for the team would be, he gets somewhere around, I'm looking right now at
last year was a career high, right?
Yeah, I want to see something pre-2021 maybe with him, where it's that sub 200, still playing just about every game. That would mean that somebody else is able to carry the ball and do it effectively, which I think is another, the ideal thing is that there is another guy. But even if there isn't, I want Alvin to be here for 2 years. I'm trying to get another year out of him. I want him to be highly effective. He would, if he ever heard this, he would hate me for saying it, but I just don't think it's the best thing for him to have that many touches. He's told us, it doesn't bother him. He never thinks about it. He feels fine. It doesn't wear on him. But, I think at some point it will. And even if he doesn't see it, even if he isn't advocating for, hey, look, I want to, preserve it, I think they should be looking at it and try to do that. Now, 1 year vacuum, you're just going for it. You're trying to win as many games possible, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you give him the ball 250 times because those 250 touches are better than any other 250 touches you're going to get. But
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that he carried the ball 228 times in 14 games last year. I don't like the quality of those touches. I don't like how we're gonna show run on first and second down, and then we're gonna run it. And I just think there's better ways to use him, and I think there's better ways to get him into some space. I think there's some ways to get him into some lighter boxes. It's just there's a lot of things with his usage the last couple of years, going back to Pete Carmichael, that I don't agree with it. And they designed a better run game. It was more effective last year, but it was line up. We're looking heavy. We're going to run the ball, stack the box. He's going to have to beat some people. And I think there's just better ways to do it. I think you can get the same production, increase those numbers. Like you said, I think his best season was probably 17. After that, it was 20. Maybe it was 20. And 20 was kind of a very heavy usage Alvin year, but if you go back and you kind of look at that and study it, it still wasn't. Sean wasn't using him like Carmichael at times was using him like Derrick Henry almost. So was
2022 was the worst usage of him by far. I thought
last year's tough.
Last year was tough.
Last year's tough too. It was highly effective. It would be very, very hard to make a criticism of Kubiak and how he used him because it was effective. They blocked better. It was built and everything, but there were some hard yards earned in that. And it's still much better, but it was better than Carmichael, but it still wasn't like Sean. I think Sean had the right idea for him. And
although even with Sean here, one very interesting trend with Kamara, I think it was 2018 and 2019, he had monster Septembers, monster, 160 yards from scrimmage a game throughout the entire month, 2 years in a row. One time it was because Ingram was hurt. Was Ingram suspended? What was who was suspended? I'm trying to remember.
Ingram. Yeah.
Ingram was suspended.
Yeah, PEDs, yeah.
And then the next year somebody was hurt for a month. But whatever the circumstances were, it was like 25 to 30 touches a game for a month. And it took its toll on him. And then it took him a little time to sort of recover. And he was banged up. You don't want to come out of the gates like that and then have him playing catch-up for the rest of the year either.
Ingram was gone in 19.
Yeah, so in 19 maybe it was
that was the year everyone was saying he was
injury or something.
He was pouting or whatever.
Yeah. And he got hurt doing that. But again, I'm not saying Alvin is injury prone. I'm saying that would be true of any running back. He was over 20 in each of the first 4 games last year. They were competitive in those 4 games. But yeah, ideally, the key to all this is be able to rely on someone else. And Taysom's injury makes that even harder. Somebody's going to have to step up, whether it's Kendre Miller, rookie, or one of these veterans that, Cam Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Somebody's got to be a running mate for him because, yeah, it's easy to say I want to limit him to 18 touches a game, and then you get in a game. We saw it last year. He had a 35-touch game last year. It's just like Clint Kubiak. That was Spencer Rattler time. It was while I think both Carr and Olave were out, and Kubiak might not have wanted to give Alvin Kamara 35 touches, but when you look at your play sheet and he's the only guy on the entire team you trust, he ends up with 35 touches. So it's easier said than done, but you're right. I think one of the big themes about this season is you shouldn't be selling out for 20, 25 wins this year. You should be thinking what's best holistically for a 2 or 3 year plan.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it, to treat one of the cars like the 911 you bring out on the weekends, maybe drive to work a couple days a week when it's nice. You gotta have the other vehicle, the daily driver, and somebody has to step up and be that. I mean, obviously Devin Neal is someone that they want to be that player. Maybe it can be Kendre. It has to be somebody, though. The ideal thing for Alvin going back would just be to kind of get to that point where you can flip it, and he has the guy like Ingram had him. And I think that would make Alvin – I don't think Alvin needs help to look good, but, that would just kind of put him into a place where I think Alvin could probably hang around for longer than and I think it's probably going to – I think that age – limit on the running backs is probably going to change a little bit in time too. Same way it has with.
Go to YouTube, the story we did when Alvin let us in his house last year. he's a guy who he pretends like he doesn't, he has a very nonchalant air about it or whatever, but you don't see anyone working harder to take care of their body and be able to do it than him. Yeah, I'm betting on him. He turns 30 in 2 weeks, but I'm betting on him, that not being a magic number for him. I can see 32-year-old Alvin Kamara still.
I think that might.
An effective
I mean, obviously, injuries are going to be a thing for running backs always.
Yeah.
Like if you have ACL or Achilles or anything, those type of injuries, you get enough of them, it's going to set you back. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that bar go up a little bit just as sports medicine improves. Like you're just going to see that aging process change a little bit. People take care of their bodies better, all that stuff. Like it's just going to change some of those numbers over time. It has to. It happens at every position. But, like, a lot of it is dependent on the system. Like, Derrick Henry goes to Baltimore. He gets better blocking, a more creative scheme, a little bit more space to run in, and he averages the most yards per carry of his career, I think it was, last year. And you go look at it, and it's the yards before contact number change. It went from being sub a yard to having, like, 1.6 or something like that, and then all of a sudden that yards per carry number goes way up, and that's where it's at. So if they're calling the right stuff, if they're getting him in space, like – I think a lot of that plays a part in it as well. If Derrick Henry was still in Tennessee in that system and they were still blocking the same way and those numbers are dipping a little bit and he's not getting the same boost from the offensive line that he got last year, we'd probably be talking about him fading instead of being a fountain of youth. Like, there's a lot that goes into it.
And you're right. It's what kind of touches. Because, if you played against Tennessee in the last 5 years – you probably had 10-man boxes. Like, it was the only thing you had to worry about.
Yes.
And Derrick Henry took a beating. I mean, look, Saquon Barkley is another example. And Kellen Moore and Doug Peterson and T.J. Paganetti just came from there. He had 345 rushing attempts. 345, which is a monster number in addition to 33 catches. So they weren't limiting his usage, but they had A.J. Brown and they had Devontae Smith and they had Jalen Hurts. So teams were not just like tackling him after 1 yard on every carry, obviously. And look, obviously plug the website again. Go to NewOrleans.Football. Nick just did a very data-driven story on when Alvin is most effective and when he's not, what kind of usage. And, I mean, that's the thing. If you're getting Alvin 3 to 4 yards without contact, and then you're letting him make a guy miss with that contact balance he has, those touches don't hurt as much as the 3 people tackled me behind the line of scrimmage touches.
Yeah. Check that out. It's on NewOrleans.Football. Use the code NOF, save 20% off your first payment. Nothing that's in the article we've talked about on the show, so you got to pay to get both. All right, moving on to our next topic, presented by Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant up there on Vets. We're going to do a little back and forth here. Training camp storyline draft.
All right.
What are you looking for? Number one thing we go out there.
You're giving me number one? You're
giving
me
the first pick of the draft, yeah.
I mean, the battle for quarterback 1.
Yeah.
I'm going out on a limb with that one.
That's the story of the whole entire season.
If Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler were 2 separate storylines, they might be the top 2 picks. Like, the development of a young quarterback. If it was, Andy Dalton versus Rattler or Andy Dalton versus Shuck, I'm fascinated to see what does this new coaching staff do with Shuck? What does this new coaching staff do with Rattler? But the fact that those are the top 2 candidates for the starting job, so it's also a quarterback competition, a quarterback battle, it's about as intriguing as anything we've seen in a training camp almost ever. I mean, I know we had Jameis versus Taysom a couple years ago, but we're also finding out is if these guys can play quarterback. So we could talk about it for an hour and a half. We have logged probably 90 hours of conversations about these guys, but it's the ultimate answer to this question.
I was watching something yesterday, and I'm not going to say who it was or what it was or who was saying it, but they were like talking about the Saints, and dude was like, I don't know, like I'm thinking it's going to probably be like Rattler because like I just I didn't like the value where Shuck was drafted or whatever, and I'm like, all right, that's a fair take. And like I go look though, and he did a 7-round mock draft before, and he had Shuck at the end of the 3rd round, and I went back and looked the year before, and he had Rattler in the 5th, and it's just like because. Like, what happened? Like, you like this guy better? You feel like Shuck got overdrafted? Like, the conversations are so funny. I say that to say that I'm just excited to have, like, that to watch, to know, to stop the speculation, to have the day-to-day competition, to take the 7-day view, can actually see who's ahead, and to see how this thing plays out, because I don't know. It's a fascinating situation. The fan base is starting to get upset that people are saying they got the worst quarterback situation in the league. I don't know that they do or don't, but I will say that, like, I don't think you can rank them.
You have to rank it.
You have to
way.
rank them 32nd by default, and your explanation just has to be, I don't know what to think of this. Like, I've said it before, I don't believe they're going to have the worst quarterback situation in the league. I don't think they're going to have the worst starter in the league. But if you're doing them as a 1 through 32, like, at least you've seen other people win games. You've never seen any of these guys win a game, so that's the only place it can be. But I'm excited to find out what it's going to look like. I'm kind of optimistic on some parts. I'm pessimistic on others. We're gonna see how it plays out. Number 2 pick for me, it's Trevor Penning. I think that's my second most interesting thing on the team. I put him slightly ahead of another thing on that position that I think we'll probably come up quickly here, but I just think my general fascination and the level of just not knowing what it's going to be, I think puts that second there, because I think if, it's the old, like, hey, if I was calling someone about practice and telling them, like, first 2 things would probably be, hey, the quarterback said this, and man, Penning blank. And whatever that blank is highly, highly interesting to me.
I'm going to go for another obvious answer here. If these are supposed to be in order, and it's Kellen Moore. I mean, it's watching how he runs a practice. It's watching what is new and different. I mean, we haven't seen – Dennis Allen was an offshoot of Sean Payton. He brought wrinkles that were different. And obviously Clint Kubiak and that staff brought things that were wholesale different, and I enjoyed watching that so much. This is just all different. It's yeah, I was already interested in OTAs and minicamp, like we said on a recent show about, how much more high-tempo walkthrough they did at the end of practice, how much more 7-on-7 they did, their tempo, what they focused on, what they're teaching, what they're installing, what they're implementing, his enthusiasm level, his energy level, like just all of it. We have not seen someone come here and just be completely foreign to the Saints running practices and developing both a culture and an offense since Sean Payton in 2006. And a lot of times you go out to training camp and you don't watch that because you know the beats. We don't know the beats now. And that makes it almost number 1 for me.
Pick 4. We're at pick 4.
Yep.
Pick 4 of the draft. The bookends, the 2 tackles. Just see how they develop. I mean, that's
for sure.
Biggest storyline as far as future. Couple other things right now that I think are justifiably ahead. Kellen Moore probably should have been the second pick in it. I dropped the ball there a little bit. But yeah, I think definitely those guys, Kelvin Banks, Tali Fuaga, how have they developed? How is Banks coming in? Can they be just the solid guys? I don't know that we'll get, full scale answers right away, but those, if there's worry signs, those do show up.
Well, look, to defend your top 2 picks, you went with 3 offensive linemen in your top 2 picks. We got to see the quarterback battle in OTAs and minicamp. We got to see Kellen Moore in OTAs and minicamp. We didn't see any offensive linemen until they put pads on, until they start doing one-on-ones, until they start doing live drills in pads, actually competing against defensive linemen, and then obviously preseason games. So yeah, those guys are still a blank page. And I had made this point when we were talking about, what's the most important to the Saints' future. The quarterbacks in Kellen Moore are more replaceable than Banks and Fuaga. Banks and Fuaga have to be special players. Like, the guys you took with those picks have to be part of the future, even more than the coach and quarterback do, I think.
Agree.
They have to hit. I will also go with a guy we don't know much about in Brandon Staley. Instead of just saying the whole defense, I'm going to say I want to see how he uses the edge rushers. I think it's pretty fascinating. Not just that he's implementing a 3-4, but that he's implementing a 3-4 with Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, and to an extent Isaiah Foskey, guys who've only run a 4-3 pretty much exclusively in their career. They are all guys that need new life for different reasons, and I wonder if even half of those guys get new life out of getting to play more on the edge, if Cam Jordan gets to get to 8 sacks, only playing 20 snaps a game, and cement his Hall of Fame legacy. If Carl Granderson gets to finally be a 10-sack guy because he's on the edge more. If Chase Young finally gets to be a 10-sack guy. If Isaiah Foskey can become anything. I want to know if Brandon Staley and then obviously all the position coaches on the defensive line can inject badly needed new life into all those edge rushers.
I'm fascinated by it, too. I'm trying to look right now to see what kind of defense they ran at Ohio State. This is probably something we should have looked at before. I know Carl Granderson rushed standing up some in college. I mean,
he did.
It's a long time.
He was like a 240-pounder back then, and then he got all the way up to like 290. He actually told me he lost about 10 or 15 pounds this year. He's excited to get back in space for that reason. You're right.
A little bit of stand up in 19, rushing off those spots. But nothing. Let me see here. Yeah, nothing that really like.
Nothing really in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Commanders were mostly 4-3. The Niners were mostly 4-3. The Saints, obviously.
Yeah.
So I wonder. I mean, is this a secret sauce for Chase Young? You know, that would be huge. Chase Young could enter the Banks and Fuaga conversation for talent you're building around if they ever unlock him.
I'm gonna get that looked up and put it on the site at some point. Just his college history with like rushing from a 2-point stance, like it is something that we probably should know. But yeah, it's definitely like It's if we're looking back at college, it's been a long ass time. Like it's a lot different body types changed and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm incredibly fascinated to kind of see how they operate. In that same vein, I think this is the last easy money on the board. Would you have pick 5? That was pick 5.
That was pick 5.
Pick 6. I think after here they're going to probably start getting a little more interesting. I mean, I think the corners, like just Alante and Coy, we've talked about it a lot.
Next
so
I'm
not gonna belabor this point too much. It's important, and we got to see how they settle into everything. I think at least Alante in the slot feels like a little bit more of a known commodity. Kool-Aid, just the consistency, seeing him out there, seeing how he reps it, how he fits into this defense, seeing how Staley going to him, how he uses Alante, that's going to be really fascinating. So that's my next pick.
The thing I have the same top 6 as you basically, and the thing that's interesting about all of them is I think they would be the 6 answers in any year, but they all qualify for 25 through 27. Those are all instrumental to will this team become anything in the future too.
Yeah.
You know,
Penny's the only one that's maybe you could pull out of there and replace, and it doesn't necessarily affect the future too much. I think he's a replaceable commodity.
Who's that?
Penning.
Yeah.
But the other guys, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the story of the franchise.
Yeah.
That's the story of Kellen Moore's
Those are the guys
tenure.
who matter. The quarterbacks, the head coach, the young corners, the young offensive tackles, like we didn't mention Alvin. We mentioned Alvin in the first segment, but we didn't mention Alvin in this. We didn't mention DeMario in this. We want to know, can these guys be part of the future? So everything else on my list is a little more short term. It's like position battles, like where we did our 53-man roster projections, and I got 8 guys fighting for 5 spots in different positions. So I will go out of those because I've got a few of them here. I'll go wide receiver.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat you to this next one. You're going to be pissed you didn't take it.
Oh, you're going to take the punter battle.
I'm going to take the punter battle. Yeah.
I have it written higher too. I have punter right under Banks, Fuaga, Penny. I have punter battle, kicker battle. Bad drafting, but wide receiver is interesting because Olave and Shaheed could also be 2 of the 5 best players on the team. We rank them as 2 of the 5 best players on the team. How much are they going to develop in this offense? Is Brandon Cooks going to be a thing? Is Donovan Peoples-Jones going to be a thing? Is Cedric Wilson going to be a thing? Is Mason Tipton going to be a thing? Do they have to go out and bring in a Gabe Davis? I feel like I forgot a name that's prominent in this conversation too. Pettis. Who's going to make this team? Kevin Austin. They've got like 10 guys who could conceivably make the team fighting for 2 spots, I think, down there at the bottom of the roster. So, and that is something.
You say Bub?
Bub Means. Yeah. That's who I forgot for sure. And not only can Bub Means make the team, but can Bub Means get himself high into the rotation because he definitely has that potential. And that is always a position that we can monitor and chart like it's going to be very hard to tell people how the linebackers are doing or how the linemen are doing. We're going to be able to tell you how the receivers are doing from practice one and all throughout. So
yeah, and then it's a special teams battles. Like the both those positions, I feel like there's legitimate contenders. I feel like Burnup's a legitimate contender at punter. Especially just depending on who fits that style the best too. There's a lot of stuff like the way they're changing this. There's a lot of stuff outside of like convention that fits. I think he fits a few different ways. So how does he fit what Phil Galliano wants to do? I do feel like Groupie's kind of way more solidified at that position.
I agree.
He's a good kicker. He's solid. He's reliable. All that stuff. If he's your kicker, you have one of probably one of the better kickers in the league. But Charlie Smith has an amazing rare leg. He can kick the hell out of the ball, and I don't think that there's anyone set here in a way that you aren't open to other possibilities. Like anything can be taken, and it's going to be interesting to see how those play out. I think punter's more of a battle than kicker, but even in that case, if Charlie doesn't make it here, like he's kicking for everybody else too, and I think he has a chance to be one of the 32. I think he has a legitimate NFL quality leg. He looks different in the little bit that we've seen him. Last year, kind of like, the trajectory of his kicks would be a little bit like funky, and he was kind of learning the mechanics. It's just solid now, and I'm interested to see what it looks like over an elongated
I'm
view.
also interested to see how they approach it, because this goes back to preserving Alvin Kamara and thinking long term. Like, if you're somebody like Kellen Moore, do you swing for the fences at kicker, because what do you have to lose? Like you're not trying to win your 10 games this year. Well, they're going to try to win 10 games. They're going to approach everything like they're trying to win 10 games. You can take the high risk, high reward approach. I'm curious if they do in different ways. They kind of are at quarterback. I mean, I love that they didn't bring in 34-year-old guy, like that maybe they still will at the end of training camp, but I like that they're kind of like, the only thing that's going to help us take off is finding a young quarterback. So maybe they take an interesting approach at places like kicker and punter. The last one on my list for who makes the team, this isn't super exciting to me, but I'm kind of curious who's first string, who's second string, who's third string, and that's like 10 interior defensive linemen fighting for maybe 4 spots. Like, so we've got they bring in Godshaw, they had Shepard, they had Colin Saunders, they had Brian Brzee, they had John Ridgway, they had Christian Boyd, they bring in Jonah Williams, they draft Vernon Broughton very high. Like, half those guys aren't making the team. Like, it's going to be really, really fascinating to see there's going to be people playing third string on the first day of practice that were like, damn, he's third string. I mean, the numbers force it.
Yeah, that's a good list. My next one, I think it's like safety. I think how they use the safeties was weird. It was weird in minicamp. Just kind of that rotation. They had Jordan Howden playing next to I keep saying Eric Reed, Justin Reed, were the top guys throughout that. Sanker was playing high in the order. How does that shake out throughout it? Where's like, I assume it's going to be Reed and Tyron. If it's not, though, like, what are they doing there?
Yeah.
And how do 3 guys fit into that picture? And how do they use, like, it was just it was strange a little bit out there, and it makes it kind of hard to analyze it right now. So I want that picture to clear up to see what they are thinking with that depth chart, because it did feel like the last staff was kind of a little bit out on Howden going into last year's camp. This staff seems to be a little bit higher on him, and just kind of seeing how all of that shakes out, I think is going to be really fascinating. It's going to be one of the things that I think potentially defines the defense too.
They brought in a like under the radar veteran in Terrell Burgess, who has a little bit of experience in the NFL, and he got a lot of prominent snaps too. He
looked
seemed
good
to be
this summer too. That's a good
Ugo
name drop.
Amadi as the backup nickel too, I think.
That's a good name drop. Yeah, he was getting good snaps. Yeah, he was.
Yeah. One other thing that's making this conversation distracting, since we're here at the PJs, we don't talk about. They're making something back there that smells.
Oh, it does.
Incredible! Like, I think they just cooked up a batch of cinnamon rolls or whatever.
It smells amazing.
It's affecting my ability to do the show.
All right, we're going to hit a quick break, and we'll be back with more show right after this.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store.
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide flavored whiskey, Ponchatoula strawberry, and Chilton County peach is in your favorite bars, stores, and restaurants. Hardhide Chilton County peach whiskey is a blend of aged wheat whiskey, light American whiskey, and fresh Chilton County peaches from Alabama's Durbin Family Farms. And Hardhide strawberry whiskey tells the story of a small town famous for strawberry farming. A delicious natural strawberry-infused 86-proof whiskey for whiskey lovers. Just look for the red and orange bottles in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football, presented by PJ's Coffee. Our next topic is presented by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey and the Chilton County Peach. Make sure you check them out at your favorite grocery store, bar, restaurant. They're all over the place. Our next one is going into the season. Is there a point, and I'll explain what my point of view on this. Is there a point where you would say, I'm going all in on this. Let's acquire more players. If you're the GM, let's acquire more players. Let's get more talent. What would you need to see to do that? And what would you need to say, like, I'm ejecting, I'm trading some guys away, I'm doing some different things? And this is just kind of a continuation of, like, we've been talking about the quarterbacks and how you evaluate them against other people. And I was talking to a key personnel decision maker of a playoff team about just kind of the league in general. And he said to me, the Saints should just start trading some guys away and tank for Arch. Like, it would save their franchise. Yeah. And it's an interesting point of view. And look, I want to say this because, like, the last show we were talking about Arch, and the comments are all like, oh, you guys are glazing Arch. He's never played. Like, obviously, he's never played. And obviously, he might not work out. The name Arch, basically, at this point, is an avatar for that Joe Burrow level prospect. And, you know, the person people think is going to be the number one pick, he might not be. Nussmeier might elevate to that. No one saw Joe Burrow being that guy. No one saw Jaden Daniels being number 2. Like, things changed. Carson Beck was supposed to be the guy, and now he's, like, you know, a fringe NFL prospect. So a lot of stuff can change and happen, but, like, Arch is just an avatar for that unblemished, perfect idea. But, like, you know, what would you need to do to kind of go extreme on a path instead of kind of sitting where they're sitting right now?
Well, first of all, I want to say the answer to the first part of that question is no way, nothing. There's no way I would believe anything. Like, I want to say that, but then
but they're like 6-1,
yeah. But then 2 weeks into last season, they were the best offense in the NFL, and we were already talking ourselves into them trading for Devontae Adams at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But I also covered the 2006 Saints, and they were supposed to be terrible. They were picked to finish 32nd in the NFL. They had just gone 3-13, and they did win 10 games and go to the NFC Championship game. So this is still the NFL, and weird things do happen. And sometimes the team that's not supposed to be good at all, just randomly out of nowhere, all the breaks fall their way. They do have the second easiest schedule in the NFL. So I can't rule it out that if you're 6-1 and everyone's stayed healthy and everyone's playing a little better than they're supposed to, you do jump on that. You react to the situation in front of you. Am I predicting what's the percentage that's going to happen? I think less than 5%. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that happens all the time in the NFL. That a team, I don't know what the Joe Burrow Bengals that went to the Super Bowl, they arrived years earlier than people expected. So you jump on it when it happens. So I
it's
can't
like after
rule
week,
it out.
it's like after
but
week 9, I think, this year. So
yeah,
like 6-3 or better, right?
because the schedule gets super duper easy. So yeah, I mean. We do still think this is a division where 10 games can win it. We just don't think the Saints can win 10 games. But if they're 6-3, then they're a team that can win 10 games. So I'm not going to rule it out.
I think that's
making
the number.
it clear I'm not
I think it's a
predicting
number
it.
for me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
obviously there's variances of that, but
Yeah.
6-3 or better,
and healthy,
or
and like set up, and things are going well.
Start trading everyone away. I think it's just you flip it like 3-6 or worse. Like it's just start getting rid of people. Don't. Like, what's the point at that juncture? Be realistic about where your team's going. There are no sacred cows at that point. I think it's just all about, hey, look, like this was it. This was the last stand. And some of these franchise pillars, some heavy fan favorites can help other teams and maybe bring back assets. And it's not even really about the asset return at that point. It's just about maybe not winning games and still being able to say you're trying.
That's tough, though. That's tough because that would have to be dictated to Kellen Moore. Like if we're looking at this from the coaching staff perspective, like there was talk this year, the Titans had the number 1 pick and the one quarterback everybody wanted. When people were talking about the coaching cycle last year, they're like, "Will Brian Callahan get fired after 1 year?" You can't let that happen to you. Like if Kellen Moore won 7 games this year, he'd be in the Coach of the Year conversation.
No doubt.
And so,
but it's not.
It would have to be the front office demanding that that's the approach.
Well, they wouldn't have to demand it; they could just do it.
Yeah,
I don't think Kellen Moore has like personnel control.
But I don't think he will ever not try to win as many games as possible.
Oh, he's absolutely. Well, that's what I'm saying though. That's what I'm saying though. Like at that point, it's about trying to maybe. Yeah. You're trying to get assets back, but you're also trying to get people out of here to improve your assets that aren't going to be part of your future beyond the season. And you look at that free agent list. A lot of the guys that would have trade value are going to be up. And I think those are people that, I'm talking about. You get to a point where, DeMario and Cam and you might even, like, Alvin's under contract. Like, I think if you are playing terribly, you have to consider it for the sake of the franchise and not to do fan service and be willing to be extremely unpopular for a short period of time to improve maybe your draft prospects. But on the flip side of that, if you're 6-3, you go for it.
Is there ever a point, obviously you get higher draft picks for young guys, is there ever a point where you consider trading Olave, Shaheed, one of those offensive tackles, anything like that?
All of them. Like if Shaheed, if I'm nowhere near a contract, like a resolution and the team is 3-6, I mean, like if he's telling you, "Hey, I'm not going to sign here," and you're 3-6, you have to trade him and try to get something back. If you're 3-6 and things look ugly with your quarterback situation, I think any weapon is now available. Like I think you just have to use the information that you have. I'm not advocating for that, and I'm not saying it's going to end up there. So before you get pissed and like say we're like the negativity central, like no, I'm just saying
we just had him 6-3 and adding at the trade deadline. I think we're all right.
But like the realistic, like these are all real possibilities. We don't know what the quarterback's going to be. I think the quarterback's going to be good enough that you don't want to get rid of your best receivers. But like, if Rasheed's saying I'm not signing here, you have to trade him.
I'm not at. Well, I mean, look, we just saw it with Marshawn last year. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they looked at the reality of their situation. That was the right move.
Yes.
I don't do it just for a 6th rounder necessarily.
No.
Yeah, but DeMario Tyron maybe would get something in return. It would take a lot for me to part ways with guys who could become core guys. Olave and Shaheed are tougher for me. I'm not quite with you on 3-6 though. There's a world where 3-6 it kind of feels positive for this team, since we're staring 0-4 in the face when we look at projecting their schedule. Maybe 2-7 instead of 3-6 is it's all gone awry for me.
That's splitting hairs, man. Like it just really matters what it's just kind of what it looks
I'm just saying for the sake of conversation, 3-6 might feel okay. 3-6 might not feel like a disaster.
I guess it depends what it looks like. But I mean, look, I feel like if you're bad and you're just you're at a point. if you're 3-6, you're not a playoff team. It's
Yeah.
not even. It's
Yeah.
not even about.
You can't fool yourself into.
Yeah, if you're
things
3-6, you're not a playoff team, and then it becomes about these guys that aren't. What are you doing with them?
Yep.
What are you doing with them next year? Are you hanging on to a very old part of the team? I think the answer should be like, unless you are running toward the playoffs, like the answer should be no. Like it's time. If you aren't a playoff team, it's time to move on from the old core, and it just is, and that's. I say that with the utmost respect for all these people, but I would not look at any other team in the league if they're 3-6 and they're hanging on to all these really old players. It would be like they are directionless and this is dumb.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And you've also made the point in the past about if you're trying to develop a quarterback, you don't want to take all his weapons away from him. That's one thing to be careful with.
Chris is a very, very hard trade for me. Rashid I don't want to trade him unless he tells me I am not signing with you.
But, I mean, I think this conversation is probably about DeMario and Tyron more than any two players on the team. If someone's offering a 4th or 5th rounder because those guys can put a team over the top, which I think they still could, those are probably the first two I'm thinking of when you have a conversation like that.
Yeah, DeMario's a very hard, like all of them are very hard trade. Like they are, you recognize what they mean and all that stuff. But like, if you just take all of that out and it's just they are this age and the core of your team is this age, where are you going? You know that's. And if you're staring that down, those are realities of things that I think people need to be at least prepared to have happen at some point during the season if things go sideways. And you know, those are the conversations you want them to be having, though. Like, they need to be having.
And I think they've shown a willingness. Like I said, trading Marshawn last year, not signing a free agent over the age of 27 in the last couple of years, not overspending. I think there's a recognition. There's a recognition of their reality. I hope there is.
Going to hit a quick break, and we will be back with the Get Gordon question of the day.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Why should I get Gordon?
Because when you're hurt, you need money. And I fight for the people of Southeast Louisiana every day. I got a client who injured their neck in a car wreck, $250,000. Another client was hit by a big truck and needed back surgery. I got them $700,000, and they deserved every single penny.
That's what I'm talking about. Why wouldn't I get Gordon?
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, just call me, New Orleans. Get it done.
Call 504-800-8888.
Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant dropped some new apps, and they nailed every single one. The Southwest Chicken Egg Rolls, crispy, packed with flavor, and the Avocado Ranch seals the deal. Crab claws in a creamy Cajun sauce? Don't forget the French bread. And the fried chicken cracklings? Crunchy, sweet heat. You'll want your own plate. Open 7 days a week, and yep, they deliver late. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Delicious food, superior service. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here on the road at PJ's, the official sponsor of NewOrleans.Football. If you aren't signed up to NewOrleans.Football, make sure you sign up today. Use the code NOF, save 20% off your first payment. Get all of our news, analysis, extra podcasts, streams, stories, all kinds of stuff that you are not getting on this podcast. And if you love the show, sign up for the site. That's how you can best support us. If you aren't going to do that, leave a review here, YouTube, whatever. Leave a comment, do something, engage. That helps us out as well. All right. It's time for the Get Gordon question of the day. The question today is, what will be higher, total sacks by the D-line or total sacks given up by the offensive line?
Oh, I just caught the D-line being a part of that question. If that's the case, the D-line's not getting more sacks. But we'll say defense as a whole, because then it's actually super close. Both are unfortunately below numbers. There was actually a time 2 years ago where the offensive line gave up 35 sacks, or the offense gave up 35 sacks, and the defense only got 34. It's the only year going back to as far as I could go back when the answer was actually the offensive line giving up more sacks. That's quietly been a thing that this team has stayed good at, even during these awful years with Pete Carmichael. They've never gone over 39, like I think in the Breeze years, at least since like 2009, and even this recent year, they've never given up more than 39 sacks. And look how good the investments in their offensive line. They should lean on the run game. This should not be a team. They do have rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback. Maybe they'll give up a little bit more than 40, but that should not be a high number. So the answer should be the defense gets more sacks. If you're saying it has
D-line,
to be defensive linemen,
Yeah, D-line.
no way are they getting 40 sacks.
Yeah. I think it also might depend on who the starting quarterback is, because the styles of play are vastly different. I'm looking this up from our friends at PFF. Tyler Shuck last year only got sacked 14 times.
Wow.
And
that's pretty good.
in the years before, like obviously limited play, 10 sacks and 144 dropbacks, which isn't it isn't a ton. That might get you around that 30 number though. But last year 14. The throwaways though last year were kind of crazy. Like he threw the ball away quite a bit, was a little bit skittish in the pocket. So I don't think that 14's a number that you love. Like I think that maybe if you're opening yourself up to taking more risk and taking more hits, that number would go up, but you'd also probably execute some more plays. So I think that's something that needs to be drawn out. But Rattler got sacked a lot in college, and he plays a style of play where he's
kind of fearless.
He's willing to stand in there and risk it. And I think that's good. But if Shuck's your quarterback, he might be more risk adverse on Rattler, so maybe that number changes a little bit. It's going to be interesting though. I think the sack number probably goes up overall because, as you said, young guys haven't seen as much football. Say what you want about Jameis, Andy Dalton, Derek Carr. They've seen a lot of football, and they're going to recognize a little bit more than some of these other people.
I think the sack number goes. Yeah, I'll take the over on 39 sacks this year for sure.
And I feel like Drew could have played with like four.
Some of the offensive lines we've seen in recent years.
Yeah. Like you could have picked up like 5 center midfielders from high school soccer teams and put them out there, and Drew probably still wouldn't have gotten sacked because he's just like seeing everything and getting rid of the ball that quick. But super fascinating.
Spirit of the question, though.
I'm fired up for the season, man.
Spirit of the question, though. I would rank pass protection is one of the things I feel best about on this team, and pass rush is one of the things I feel worst about on this team.
Yeah, and when you isolate it just to the D-line and you aren't allowing yourself to get the DeMario blitzes and the Alante blitzes and, some of the Reed blitzes and, it changes the math quite a bit.
Funny thing about Drew Brees, he had some interception seasons. I think people forget he used to have a little Brett Favre in him. He had a 22 interception season once, but he never got sacked more than I was going to say more than 29 times. There was a 37-sack season, 2013. That was a rough year. There was a 37-sack in there, but even earlier in his career, Brees wasn't getting.
Speaking of though, PFF did their rankings of the offensive lines throughout the league. They had the Saints 20th.
Fair, and I mean, again, we got to see it before they can improve their ranking, but. With Banks and Fuaga, that 20th, and it should only go up from there, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of start boiling that rock, like some of the optimism comes off it a little bit, and it's just like when you're kind of just looking at the raw product there, I think you have to add some optimism to get to them being the top tier.
Yeah.
Like a top 10 line. It's like, they could be and they should be, but they aren't yet. Yeah, there's a lot of questions to answer.
Boiling that rock? I've never heard that expression before.
Yeah, I mean, you got to let God sort it out. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll see you next time.